The story begins precisely at the series school, where a girl named Elisa from a Russian father is enrolled and is known for being an outstanding student, which led to her nomination as treasurer of the student council starting from the current school year. Elisa was walking on her way in the school year amid admiring glances from everyone as if she were a famous artist until a clumsy young man named Andu appeared in front of her and tried to get her phone number or go out with her on a date for lunch, but she refused him in front of everyone and told him that she was not interested in him at all, which made him in a state of shock as he was the spoiled boy among everyone at the school. After that, Elisa left quietly and went to her class, and soon felt angry when she found her classmate Masachika sleeping, so she kicked his chair and woke him up violently and scolded him for staying up late last night watching anime as usual. What's the harm in that? We also sacrifice sleep to watch a whole season of the likes of you, you arrogant bitch. He told her that the anime ended at 1 a.m. and the discussion took longer. She thought it was a Twitter discussion, but he told her that he sat on a phone call with a fellow otaku for 2 hours, and she called him crazy. He proudly tells her that he's crazy if that's what it means to express your love for something without regard to time or place. She retracts her words and calls him an idiot as he yawns like a zebra, and before class starts he asks her to share her chemistry textbook with him because he forgot his at home. Masachika kept falling asleep in class until Elisa poked a hole in his body with a pen, which made him make a loud noise, and the teacher thought he knew the answer to the question, so he felt he was in trouble and decided to go along with it, but he didn't know what the question was in the first place. Elisa helps him and points out the answer in her book. When he answers, he's shocked that she deliberately pointed out the wrong answer so that she could tell the teacher the right answer and make a fool of him. When he scolded her, she told him that she was referring to the question in general and did not mean the specific answer, but he knew inside him that she was lying and trying to pretend otherwise, so she smiled at him and said some Russian words that she thought he could not understand, but he guessed that one of the words meant cute and felt angry when she likened him to a baby when his face was red. Then he sat thinking that he was able to learn spoken Russian through his childhood friend. Since he met Elisa, he became suspicious when she talks to him in Russian, as she always says sweet words to him in Russian, thinking that he won't understand anything, and he preferred to keep his knowledge of Russian a secret. After class, Masachika sat down to check his phone, and Elisa sternly told him that phones are only allowed in school in case of emergency. He told her that he considers himself to be in an emergency because he wants to check the free throws in a game. Elisa felt that he was a hopeless person for taking the risk of breaking the rules in front of her as a student council officer. Then she found him getting excited when a hot girl appeared, so she decided to take the phone away from him and saw that a hot girl with silver hair had appeared. She gives him the phone back and tells him in Russian that she has silver hair too, but he doesn't like her, and although he knows exactly what she said, when he asks her what she said, she tells him that she called him a game addict, and he gets angry and tells her that he only plays free games, which makes her description of him an insult to real addicts who pay money to win. Afterward, all the students went to lunch in the food court, and Masachika found his classmate Takeshi crying and screaming that he wanted to be popular with the girls, and he quickly became furious when his friend Hikaru ignored it and started talking to Masachika. Then they were surprised by the arrival of the hot student council girls, including Elisa and her sister Maria, and his friends expressed their admiration for the two sisters, and Hikaru told him that there are rumors that Maria has a boyfriend because of her repeated rejection of all those who try to approach her. Takeshi then expresses his exasperation that Masachika is a personal friend of Elisa's, telling him in a frustrated tone that she treats him harshly despite this, so Takeshi decides to try approaching her friend Yuki, as she seems to be friendly to others, but the issue lies in her rejection of boys as well. He asks Masachika if he has any information about Yuki's emotional state, and when he turns around, Yuki stares at him with a slight smile, then approaches him and asks permission to share the table. Elisa soon joined them as she watched, and when Yuki started eating the ramen, she felt that it would have been better if it had a slightly spicy flavor, and she thought about suggesting it to the student council, but Masachika told her not to involve her personal preferences in administrative matters. Elisa was curious to ask them about their relationship, and Yuki told her that they had known each other since childhood. Elisa was surprised that they were classmates from kindergarten until now, and expressed her desire to become her friend as well. Elisa felt embarrassed and said that she didn't think it would be fun to be friends with her, but Yuki reassured her that she wasn't completely opposed to the idea. After Masachika's friends finished eating and left the table, Elisa was surprised when Yuki approached him and asked him about her offer to join the student council. He told her he wasn't interested, but she insisted that the three of them would make a great team with his experience, and Elisa was surprised when Yuki told her that she was the student council president and Masachika was her vice president in junior high. Yuki began to praise his performance as vice president and that he could accomplish many tasks. Elisa spoke in Russian and told her that she already knew that and continued to eat her food angrily. Afterward, they say goodbye to Yuki. As she leaves, Elisa seems jealous of her closeness to him and and says that she never imagined that a girl would want to be his girlfriend and is surprised that he refers to her as his girlfriend too. She decided to leave and said that she had something to accomplish in the student council. While she felt happy and joyful because he considers her a close person, then Masachika remembered his Russian childhood friend with whom he used to play, and one day they watched the sunset together, and in the evening he was surprised after she kissed him on the cheek before she left. Then Masachika woke up the next morning with the dream still stuck in his mind and remembered that he studied Russian with the aim of being able to communicate with her, but unfortunately he forgot her name over the years, and he went to school early and started cleaning the classroom. After that, Elisa went to the classroom and was surprised to see him after he took over the classroom perfectly, as he woke up early this time, but as usual she pretended to be cold, and when he approached her, he noticed that her socks were dirty, so she told him that a car had sprayed dirty water on them on the way to school. Then it occurred to her to ask him if he wanted to join the student council, and he told her, bored with the repeated question, that he was not interested. She almost said something, but decided to overlook it and started changing her socks, and when she took off one of them, she noticed that Masachika turned his face to the other side because of his shy nature, so she decided to mess with him a little, and asked him to get the spare socks from her locker. When he brought them to her, he was surprised that she asked him to help her put them on, and justified it as a thank you for bringing them to her. When she started speaking Russian again, he felt that her display of affection towards him was odd and concluded that she might be using him as a mental outlet as she feels the pressure of playing the perfect student. Then she decided to back down and put her socks on herself, but he quickly grabbed her leg to help her put them on after she called him a coward, but she was embarrassed and told him to stop, and after he helped her put them on, he was surprised when his hand accidentally slipped into a sensitive area, and he only felt her foot kicking his face like a ball and almost forced him to swallow his teeth and left in anger. Masachika sat all day thinking about what to do to reconcile with her. He tried to apologize to her in the lobby, but she called him a pervert in Russian, then told him she wasn't angry and apologized for hitting him. When she approached him to check his neck, he shook away and told her he was fine. Then his tongue betrayed him, and he ended up in trouble after he told her he peeked under her clothes at that moment, making her hit him again and ran away. He chased after her to discuss that he didn't mean it, and they chased for 10 minutes like Tom and Jerry until they collapsed from exhaustion, and when he had a chance, he apologized for what he had said earlier. Then he got down on one knee and offered her her favorite drink as an apology gift, and when she started drinking it, she asked him in Russian if he wanted to take a sip, and he was shocked when he imagined that he would end up in an indirect kiss with her, so he decided to play dumb and asked her what she meant, and she told him something completely different and felt that she had an advantage over him because he doesn't understand Russian, while he kept giving her angry looks for keeping it a secret. A few days later, Masachika went to help Yuki organize the school store and was surprised that Elisa was there after seeing their chemistry and felt that Yuki deliberately set a trap for him. While they were organizing the store, she asked him to bring her the paper toys on the top shelf and told him that they would only use them for school celebrations. While they were talking, Elisa interrupted them to express her displeasure at their excessive chatter, and when Masachika apologized, she told him in Russian to pay more attention to her. He felt embarrassed but kept up his stupid act at the same time, and Elisa continued to speak in Russian, thinking that he wouldn't understand anything. After they finished organizing the pantry, they were joined by their classmate Tuya, who introduced himself to Masachika and told him that he was this year's student council president. When he is about to leave, Tuya refuses to leave without rewarding him for his help, so he offers to pay for dinner, but he refuses, and Yuki tries to convince him that he will not find his dinner ready when he returns home. Tuya is surprised that she knows some details about his life, and when she tells him that they have been friends since childhood, he offers to join her and Elisa for dinner, and Masachika ends up being forced to have dinner with him today. In the evening, they go to a restaurant together, and Tuya is impressed by how quickly they finish their work. Yuki tells him that Masachika is an expert in supervision and negotiation, and he feels embarrassed and tells them that she always praises him too much. Tuya then offered him to join the student council, but Masachika told him that he had had enough of student council work since junior high school and didn't want to do it again right now, so he tried to convince him that joining them would have a positive effect on him as a student at the school. Masachika tells him that he's not the energetic type and that Yuki won't need him to take over as president after he graduates. Tuya says that she won't be guaranteed the position as there are other candidates, most notably Elisa, who intends to vie for the position. After leaving the restaurant, Yuki and Tuya leave to go home while Masachika decides to drive Elisa home. She pretends that she doesn't need his company, but after a short distance she decides to continue on her own, so he leaves her and returns home. When he arrives, he finds a pair of shoes near the door of his apartment. When he enters, Yuki is lying on the couch reading a novel and tells him she's decided to stay the night. He tells her to stop pretending to be his childhood friend since they're not in school anymore. She told him that a childhood friend doesn't have to be someone you grew up with. It can be a brother, a friend, or even a fellow otaku like her. Then she continued reading the novel aloud, and it turns out that Yukai is Masachika's younger sister, but they are hiding it for some reason. The next day, Yuki enters Masachika's room to wake him up and sits on top of him while he feels feels suffocated. She tells him that next time she will hide under the bed and hold his leg while he gets up, and tells him to hurry up and change his clothes so they can go out together. After that, they went to the movie theater together to watch an anime movie, and after finishing it, Yuki wanted to watch it again, but Masachika pulled her back and told her that they had to go shopping, and was surprised that the prices of clothes were too high, especially for women. Then he asked her without preamble if she had noticed Elisa around watching them from a distance, and she told him that she had noticed it since they left the movie theater but ignored it. He decides to go with her and pretend that it's just a coincidence, while Elisa doesn't expect them to find out, but she plays it cool and tells them that she came to go shopping and buy some clothes. Masachika was surprised when Yuki suggested that the three of them go to lunch together, and told her that they should take her somewhere other than the restaurant they used to eat at since it only serves spicy food, but Elisa still agreed to accompany them and eat spicy ramen. Elisa is shocked when she sees the sign of the restaurant, which indicates that she will suffer a lot when she eats there. Masachika asks Elisa if she wants to leave, but she refuses and insists on going in with them. When she looked at the menu, she didn't understand what the name of each dish meant, so Yuki explained to her the names of the dishes from lowest to highest heat, and Masachika chose to order the least hot dish, and Elisa thought that she shouldn't take any risks on her first visit and chose the same dish. Then Elisa noticed that Yuki was wearing boyish clothes, and Masachika turned into a fountain after she told her that she'd have borrowed his shirt after being in bed with him today, so he tried to explain that he was surprised to find her in his house yesterday and did not want to. After a while, the waiter brought them food, and when Elisa saw her plate up close, she felt that she had put herself in trouble, but she gathered her courage and started eating it so as not to embarrass herself, and over time she began to suffer in Russian while shedding tears and at the same time pretending to freeze in front of them and enjoy its taste. Yuki suggested that she put the devil's teardrop marinade to make the food hotter, but Masachika realized that she was deliberately setting her up to make her suffer more, so she decided to put just one drop, but she couldn't take it anymore. Afterward, Elisa sat by a fountain with Masachika, who brought her an ice cream to cool her ramen, and as they ate the ice cream together, it occurred to him to ask her why she wanted to become student council president. She says she doesn't need a reason to aspire to a high office. He tells her that she has to pick a partner to run as a couple, or she won't be allowed to register her name, so she decides to pick a random person since she doesn't need a real assistant. Masachika then realizes that she wishes he would join her in running for student council, and remembers a flashback to when he found his sister Yuki crying nearby, and after she finished her ice cream, she asked him to go shopping with her. Masachika hesitates for a while, but decides to help her because she has no friends to shop with, while Elisa is surprised that he's suddenly being kind to her, and quickly becomes angry when she guesses that he pities her because he thinks she doesn't have a chance to become president. She decides to prove to him that she deserves to be president by choosing several outfits and trying them on in front of him. When she puts on the first dress, she is terrified that he will react coldly to her and vows to slap him if he does. But after she came out wearing the dress, she was surprised by his praise and that he thought the dress emphasized her elegance and beauty, so she returned to the room stunned by his reaction, contrary to what she expected, while he almost exploded in embarrassment because she met his praise with coldness as usual. Elisa continued to try on many clothes, and Masachika kept admiring her taste and fashion choices, which made her feel happy all the time until she decided to wear somewhat revealing clothes to impress him more. And when she went out to show him what she had chosen, she was surprised that Yuki had returned again, so she returned to the room, wanting to disappear out of embarrassment. In the evening, Elisa sat next to them on the bullet train, freezing and staring at the sky like a zombie out of embarrassment until she was separated from them and thought that they must think she was a whore for appearing in front of them in a very short skirt. Then she noticed that they got off together at the same station and realized that Yuki was going to go home with him, just like yesterday. When Elisa returns home, Maria greets her with a warm hug and soon realizes that she is sad, so she tells her without going into details that she met Masachika and Yuki while shopping and realized that he is the boy Elisa is in love with, and expressed her happiness at the appearance of a young man who was able to catch her eye. But Elisa denied it and told her that what she was thinking was nonsense and that they were just friends. Maria asked her meanly how they could be friends, and she naturally hates lazy people and playboys. She remembered 6 years ago when she was studying in Russia, where she used to strive to win and become the first place in whatever she did, and when she was assigned to do a report on local professions, she went on a tour of the various stores near her neighborhood while her teammates were not paying attention to it. When she realized that they hadn't finished their assignments, she started scolding them and telling them that they should take it seriously, and ended up fighting with them until she decided to separate from them and work on the report alone, but she failed to get the best report award, which infuriated her because she hates losing. Elisa continued to blame others and herself because she trusted them and hoped they would help her as a team, and she became isolated over time because she felt that no one else had the motivation and passion but her. Years later, she enrolled at the Suri school in Japan, and all her classmates were impressed by her fluency in Japanese and her success in the notoriously difficult entrance exam. On this day, she met Masachika for the first first time and found him sleeping at the next table. Over the course of the day, she noticed that he was lazy, always forgetting his school stuff at home and relying on others, which made her feel angry at him and wondered how a lazy person like him could get into a prestigious school. One day, Halloween was approaching, and Elisa sat sewing Halloween costumes until after school and became the only one who hadn't come home yet, and she felt that the same thing was happening again, and there was no one who was passionate and trying their best except for her. Masachika joins her and tells her that she shouldn't be so hard on herself because he got the Craftsmen's Club to agree to help them with the festival through his relationship with the former student council president, but when he says that there's no point in working on it, she got very angry and told him that all she wanted was to make the festival as special as possible since she would be participating in it, and she didn't want to do sloppy work, and she knew that no one cared as much as she did. He told her that she was putting her efforts in the wrong place, as festivals and school celebrations are meant to bring everyone together to create something special, and she should think of a way to motivate her colleagues instead of working alone if all she cares about is the quality of the work. She calmed down a little when she realized that he was right and decided to call it a day and go home. The next day, she was surprised to find that all her classmates were excited to work on the festival preparations and were doing their best all over the place. At the end of the festival, her class won the award for the best class at the annual Halloween festival. In the evening, she found all the students in the square performing the folk dance of Japan except for Masachika, so she went to sit next to him, and when he asked her if she could dance, she told him that she had mastered ballet as a child but refused many people who wanted to dance with her because she did not care about it and had to pretend that she did not know how to dance. Then she was surprised when he told her that everyone was right to call her an ice princess recently, which made her feel angry because the name is against her nature and she is not a princess, but her problem is that she was born with a supernatural appearance and talent and did not take advantage of it all her life. Then it occurred to her to thank him for what he had said to her that day, and that he had made her realize that she was wrong in her way of thinking and would have missed out on the festival's atmosphere of teamwork, and she wanted to express her gratitude by doing whatever he wanted. He asked her to allow him to call her by her first name in Russian, which would make him stand out in the class because he would be the only person to call her by that name. Soon, some of their classmates joined them to invite her to dance, and they kept begging her even though they knew she didn't know how to dance. Masachika decided to save the day and suddenly grabbed her hand and told her that they were going to dance together. She was so happy that her heart felt like it was about to explode. He told her that she could easily learn folk dancing as a former ballet dancer, and they danced together all night. The next day, Masachika took a nap in class as usual. When he woke up, he found Elisa looking at him like he was garbage. The sister understood why she loved Masachika and admired their story, but Elisa insisted that they were just friends, so I told her that this is the natural evolution of the relationship between a man and a woman, as it happened with her and her lover, and began to tell her story with him, as the first time they met was when he saved her from a dog attack, but Elisa refused to listen to the rest of her story. The next day, Tuya enlists Masachika's help to cover for Yuki at the student council. When he meets Maria at the council office and she introduces herself to him, and he realizes that she is the one who needs help accompanying someone to go shopping. He was surprised when she took his hand and expressed her gratitude by agreeing to help her, but she stared at him for a moment, which confused him. Then she caught herself and moved away from him. Then they headed to the mall together, and Maria was buying some items to decorate the council offices. Then a stuffed cat caught her eye, and she told him that it looked a lot like Elisa. He told her that the president wouldn't like it, but girls like her would like the idea. Masachika ignored him and started looking for dolls that looked like her colleagues, but she couldn't find the right number, so she decided to buy only the one that looked like Elisa at least, and Masachika advised her not to pay money out of the box so as not to upset her sister. After they finished shopping, Masachika felt uncomfortable because Maria is eccentric, unlike Elisa, and he guessed that she suffers a lot with her, and when they arrived near one of the stores, he wanted to carry the doll for her, but then he was surprised by her trying to film him carrying the doll, so he quickly put the bags in front of the phone. Then they entered a tea shop for Maria to drink red tea, and when she asked him about tea, he said that he didn't know much about herbs and remembered when he was young, when his parents decided to separate and he chose to live with his father, while his sister Yuki lived with their mother and learned a lot from her. Then his thoughts were interrupted by Maria's voice asking him what was on his mind, and he was surprised when she approached him and patted his hair to relax him, and he felt a familiar sensation and surrendered to it before he felt the high heat in his back from the teacup, and she got confused and dropped the entire cup on his clothes. After a while, they returned to the office and Tuya marveled at the doll that Maria had bought and asked her not to keep it here, then thanked Masachika for helping them get the stuff, and that if he had let Maria go alone, the student council office would have turned into a toy store. Masachika told him that he didn't want to join, although he didn't mind helping out from time to time. Tuya was curious as to why he felt the urge to join, so Tuya asked him the same question and told him that he felt his refusal had something to do with other reasons. Masachika said that he didn't see himself as worthy of becoming a student council member because of his experience in middle school, where he didn't have goals that he could use his position to achieve, and then he was surprised when when Tuya said that he became student council president to win the heart of the girl he loves, which is an inappropriate reason compared to him. Then he took out his phone and showed him a picture of himself when he was in 9th grade. Masachika didn't expect that this was the same person standing in front of him and thought it was his younger brother, as he looked like an idiot and ridiculous, leaving him in a state of shock at his amazing transformation. Tuya tells him that 2 years ago he was judged for his looks, his grades were low, he was bad at sports, and didn't like going to school. But when he fell in love with a girl named Chisaki, everything changed and he strives to be worthy of her, and part of his quest is to become president of the student council. Then he added that he didn't need a specific reason to join. Even Maria became part of the student council at Shizaki's request, and Maria added that it didn't matter what he did after joining the council as long as he tried to improve school life for the students. Masachika felt that they were right, and Tuya told him to be proud of himself because he had nothing to be ashamed of. He remembered when he was in junior high school with Yuki and was uncomfortable with the idea of becoming her vice president. Then Tuya told him that it was okay if he wanted to join the council to support someone in becoming president. Masachika decided to think about it for a while and then noticed that Elisa was absent from the council. Maria told him that she had gone to settle a dispute between the baseball and soccer teams as they disagreed over who was entitled to use the school field for practice. Tuya then said that Chisaki is usually in charge of internal conflicts within the school, but she left on a mission for the kendo club, so Masachika decided to go check on her. In the meantime, the two teams were standing in front of each other, and Elisa tried to manage the dispute in a peaceful manner. She suggested that the soccer team use the nearby riverbank park for practice, and one of the team members said that it was more suitable for the baseball team, and the baseball team thought it was suitable for soccer players, and the dispute continued despite a solution. Elisa felt that she was in trouble and could not control the situation any longer and began to feel frustrated that she did not have what qualifies her to influence others and make them listen to her, and remembered in the past when she was frustrated and decided to rely on herself without waiting for help from others, and sees that she is now paying the price for her decision because she did not try to get along with her teammates before. When she begged for someone to help her in this situation, she was surprised when Masachika came over and introduced himself to both teams as the student council public affairs officer. Aunt Masachika wouldn't have helped her if he hadn't heard her plea in Russian from outside. He then suggested that the baseball team practice on the riverbank because of their smaller number of players, while the soccer team, with more players, would help with their transportation. When both teams objected to his suggestion, the soccer team's manager suggested that they help the baseball team with their training tasks in exchange for the soccer team's help. Masachika felt proud that he had managed to settle the argument between the two sides, while Elisa felt grateful for him and the impact he was having on people. In the evening, Masachika apologized for his sudden intervention in the dispute and putting her in an awkward position, and Elisa was curious to ask him if he knew that the soccer team manager would offer to help because of his suggestion. Masachika realizes that she is very observant and tells him that she noticed him staring at her throughout the baseball team's interception as if he was indirectly asking for help. He tells her that the soccer team manager is dating the baseball team captain, which is why they agreed to the proposal and why the team captain didn't say a word the whole time. On their way, they met Tuya, who was eager to know what they had come up with, and when she told him that Masachika had succeeded in resolving the dispute between the two teams, he admired her ability to hold out until he arrived, and Masachika suspected that he had planned it from the beginning to force him to participate in the council's tasks. Tuya asks him for his final decision, and he has no choice but to agree to join the student council as a member. They head to the office and Tuya gives him a form and tells him to fill it out and bring it back tomorrow. On the ride home, Masachika was upset because he felt he had been tricked in some way, while Elisa asked if he had changed his mind about joining in order to support his sister in the presidential election, and he asked her if she would give up the idea of running if he joined Yuki. She replied that she wanted to become the new president even if she had to run against him. He realized how motivated and determined she was and told her that he would support her to achieve her goal of becoming president and would do everything he could, and vowed to stay by her side and never let her be alone again. Elisa was surprised when she saw him extend his hand to her and involuntarily shed some tears, but she approached him and held his hand, and then he told her that they would be a team from now on, and he was soon surprised to hear her confess her love for him in Russian and had a sudden feeling of nostalgia for his memories with his childhood friend. But he was interrupted by the crushing pain in his hand after Elisa tightened her grip on him when she noticed his absent-mindedness and asked him if he was thinking about another girl, to which he automatically responded by asking her how she knew, and then realized that he had made things worse. She then asked him if he was thinking about Yuki, but he denied it, so she tightened her grip on his hand again and suddenly decided to slap him until he ended up falling to the ground. But she quickly extended her hand to him and asked him to go home together. That bitch is crazy. After he drove her home, he was surprised to see her approaching him and kissing his cheek. Seeing his pale look, she told him it was just a kiss on the cheek. Then she left him and went inside while he kept holding his cheek as if he couldn't believe what had just happened. Elisa, on the other hand, was in her room, not realizing that she had confessed confessed her love to him in Russian. She kept telling herself that it was impossible to fall in love with someone like him, convincing herself that she said it unconsciously, and decided to prioritize her ambition to become student council president. During her self-flagellation, she senses that someone is in the house, so she goes out of the room and finds Maria returning from outside, and is surprised that she brought the cat doll that she named after her and told her that she met this beautiful doll and that she looks very much like her. Then it occurred to her to advise her before going to her room not to hide her feelings for Masachika and to hurry to confess to him before one of the girls snatches him away from her. On the other hand, Masachika was on his way home, berating himself for what he had already said to Elisa, and when he remembered her explicit confession of love for him, he realized that she had been flirting with him in Russian all this time and wasn't deliberately messing with him. For a moment he thought that she might have meant what she said seriously and thought that she must have been confused by what she had said earlier after she caught herself. Then he remembered his painful childhood with his parents and how they were always arguing, and came to believe that love is just a weak, untrustworthy, and time-consuming emotion. Then he realized that he wasn't worthy to promise Elisa that he would always be there for her, as he had abandoned his younger sister in the past and left her to carry the family name alone. And when he got home, he was surprised to find Yuki's shoes outside because she said she would be busy and couldn't come. He then sat down to think about what to tell her about joining the student council and decided to gradually build up the day's events. And when he entered, he was shocked to see her completely naked and drying her hair. Masachika quickly realized that she had deliberately arranged this situation and she didn't deny it. And when he wanted to leave, she grabbed him and told him that she realized something crazy a few moments ago, that this was the first time they had been in this situation and that this was her way of making up for deceiving him today. Masachika tells her that he's going to let her in on a big secret. For boys, peeking is much sexier than looking directly at them. After she gets dressed and sits down to dry her hair, she marvels that she's sitting in his room as if it were her own. Yuki wondered if Tuya had succeeded in convincing him to join the council, and he replied that he had a side goal for joining, which was to make Elisa the next student council president. Yuki was shocked and furious that he would betray her and accused him of agreeing to joining because of his obsession with the size of her breasts. She then offered to touch her breasts to make sure she was better than Elisa, but he refused. She told him that he had already done that when they were younger when they played outside together, but he claimed he didn't remember it and accused her of trying to fabricate perverted moments for them, as she didn't go outside much because of her asthma. She said she was fine now that she hadn't had a cold in 4 years, gave him her brush, and asked him to brush her hair, then told him seriously that she was excited that he was going to be her opponent in the election by taking Elisa's side. Before she left the room, she told him that she wouldn't be upset about his betrayal and that he could come back to her whenever he got tired of Elisa. As she left the room, she felt happy that he had finally found someone who could motivate him and vowed that she wouldn't lose the election to them. The next day, Masachika woke up on his own, and when he didn't find Yuki around, he realized that his decision about the election had affected her negatively and thought about making amends in some way. But when he got out of bed, he was horrified to feel something grabbing his foot from underneath, and after moving away towards the door a little, Yuki appeared and told him that it wouldn't end that way. She soon realized she was in trouble after she got stuck under the bed and asked him to pull her out, but he decided to bury her alive down there and kept pushing her in further. Meanwhile, Elisa was sitting in class, angry at Masachika's tardiness. Then she composed herself, confident that he would enter the class with a sleepy face as usual, and soon found him entering the class with an energetic face, which impressed her, but she deliberately pretended to be cold and then listened to his conversation with his friends and their desire to go to the karaoke club later. Elisa felt that he didn't seem like himself today for some reason, and he seemed to be soft. Then she started scolding herself for her way of thinking and guessed that maybe he didn't get enough sleep, but she noticed that he didn't take a nap like he always does and that he didn't forget his textbooks, so she thought he was trying to improve his behavior in front of her. Elisa kept thinking about him all the time, even during other classes, and while the class was divided into 2 volleyball teams, she was surprised to see the ball hit Masachika in the back of the head and knocked him unconscious. After he regained consciousness, he was still in pain from the severity of the blow and soon felt hungry. When he saw Elisa approaching him to check on him, he told her that he was fine and had to go outside because he was hot in the gym, but she was still worried about him. She decided to check on him herself, but he kept looking at her chest involuntarily. When she moved away from him and started doing her hair, he peeked at her body and felt he was right about the pleasure of peeking. Before she left, she advised him to drink water to make him feel better. When he went to the watering hole, he found her there and kept peeking, as any teenager would, and then she surprised him by diving his head under the water and telling her that he felt the need to cool himself down a bit, and then interrupted them to join Maria. He remained staring at the sky, feeling satisfied and grateful for the sportswear that made him see many things about Elisa. Then he was surprised by Maria drying his head with a towel, and he realized that he understood how dogs feel when someone massages their heads, and soon Elisa pulled him back to the lounge. Masachika thought she was mad at him and was going to call him names, but he was surprised that she was still worried about the blow to his head, and and when she asked him if he wanted to put ice on it, he realized that she thought he had wet himself to cool down the part that was hit by the ball. He was surprised that she was being unusually nice to him. When he asked her directly, she told him that he hadn't been himself all day, which made her worry about him, so he played dumb and told her that he just skipped breakfast this morning. Elisa was shocked to realize that he was so distracted in class about breakfast that he couldn't sleep. He told her that he got enough hours of sleep last night, which made her feel angry that she went to so much trouble to sleep after what happened last night, while he ignored it and slept all night, calling him an inconsiderate jerk. Masachika felt a sudden angry look from her and realized that she wanted to slap him, so he brought his face closer to her, and when he asked her about her disdainful look towards him, she told him that it was a disdainful look that a loser like him deserved. Then she left him feeling angry and thinking that it is impossible to fall in love with an idiot like him. At the end of the school day, Masachika found that Elisa was back to being cruel to him, so he asked her to go to the student council together. She moved without saying a word, and halfway there, they stopped suddenly and found members of the baseball and soccer teams apologizing to someone and then leaving in a hurry. Masachika approached the room, and when he opened the door, he saw a girl with short hair standing there holding a stick taller than her and looking at him sharply. He apologized for barging into the room suddenly, and before he closed the door, she caught him and apologized for her sharp manner because she thought one of the teams had come back. Then she told them that she was punishing them for their rude behavior that day in front of Elisa, who went to settle the dispute. Masachika felt that she exaggerated a bit with the cane, but she told him that it was easier than her deadly fist, and he realized that she was the eccentric Chisaki, nicknamed the boss. Then Tuya told him that she did not resort to violence, but threatened them, which made Chisaki angry and kept scolding him and hitting him. Then Maria joined them and told them not to have fun in the council office, followed by Yuki, and then the meeting of the student council members began to fill up, and Tuya asked Masachika to introduce himself, and he told them that he will take over the general affairs of the students and intends to run for election next year with Elisa. Masachika then added that he loves anime and manga and considers himself an expert otaku, which is his favorite hobby, and after he finished introducing himself, Tuya told him that he would accompany Maria to help with her daily tasks and to help him get acclimated faster, and asked him to work with all members of the council since they are short-staffed. Yuki then asked Tuya to let Elisa accompany her as the treasurer for her discussion of the art gallery, and that she would need to discuss the gallery's budget with her, and after they left the office, Masachika felt that something was about to happen between them. On their way to the gallery, Elisa thought to initiate a conversation with Yuki about the election, so Yuki suggested that they have a private conversation in an empty classroom. After they entered, Elisa told her that she intended to run for election with Masachika and that she wanted to tell her in person, but was surprised to learn that he told Yuki about it the night before. Elisa then added that she had nothing to apologize for, and Yuki said that she knew Masachika had chosen what he wanted to do and had no intention of feeling resentful or angry with her, even though she felt sorry that he hadn't chosen her. Elisa was tempted to ask her something, but she hesitated, then was surprised when Yuki answered the question in her head without saying it and told her that she loves Masachika more than anyone in the world. Yuki asked her directly how she felt about him, which made Elisa even more confused, but she claimed that he was just a friend to her. Yuki asked her directly if she was in love with him, but she denied it, so she asked her to tell her everything and kept approaching her until she cornered her directly. Elisa says she doesn't know how she feels about him, but she won't let her have it so easily. Yuki feels she got what she wanted from her answer and decides to continue towards the art club, making Elisa feel like she just said something stupid. Meanwhile, Masachika and Maria are working together, and Masachika is surprised that she becomes a machine when it comes to hard work, while Chisaki, the leader, is overly enthusiastic, and Tuya tells him that she has great talent and ability to lead discussions. Maria decides to take a short break and goes to make some tea for them, which she prepares in Russian style, and when Masachika takes the first sip, he feels nostalgic for the taste of his mother's tea, as she was a tea aficionado. After a while, Yuki returned with an angry Elisa and surprised Masachika by deliberately sitting too close to him. She explained that it is considered bad luck in Russia for a girl to sit in the corner of the table, and when he noticed her intense gaze towards Yuki, he realized that something was wrong. Maria tells him that this is a common belief among unmarried people, but Elisa explains that she just didn't want to sit in the corner of the table, then adds in Russian that she's not thinking about marriage at the moment, and although Masachika agrees with her, he is concerned about the way she phrased it. After the meeting is over, they leave together on their way home, and Masachika realizes that the reason for Elisa's suspicious behavior is his sister. He suggested that they sit at the cafe near the house, saying that he wanted to discuss the election with her. She was disappointed that he hadn't asked her out on a date, and when they got inside, he asked her what happened with Yuki. She coldly denies that anything happened, and then it occurs to her to ask him if he's dating her. He denies it without hesitation and tells her that Yuki isn't as conservative and moral as she seems, that she deliberately messes with people to see how they react, and that they have no chance of beating her in the election. Then he told her about when they ran together in the middle school elections and how half of the candidates dropped out at the debating convention because they had no hope of defeating Yuki, which is why there are so few student council members here now. While he was talking about Yuki and her ability to win the position of president, Elisa had trouble sipping her drink and was surprised to find that her straw was closed by biting, and she couldn't remember when she did it. Then Masachika noticed that she was more interested in eating the dessert than listening to him. He said he wanted to use a new spoon, but she insisted on feeding him from the same spoon to get an indirect kiss, and he finally had to eat in front of everyone's shocked looks. He then noticed a girl named Sayaka wandering around outside, but was interrupted by Elisa's question about how to beat Yuki in the election. He told her that they should come up with an election program that appeals to the students as Tuya did, as he made everyone see his success story in real life by turning from a failed and ugly student into the most prominent candidate for student council president. Elisa found that she needed a story to inspire people to support her to become president. They both stared at the spoon with the indirect kiss, and Masachika thought of ordering dinner to tell the waitress to bring a new spoon. Elisa laughed at his confusion and called him a child, while he admired her spontaneous behavior and asked her if Russians are used to indirect kissing, and she told him in Russian that he was the only one she wanted to do it with. Then they went back to talking about the election, and he told her that she should show everyone how hard she was willing to work and that they should use the opportunity at the first semester's closing ceremonies for the student council speech. She sat thinking about what she should say in her speech, and he suggested that she should say whatever was on her mind at the time so that the audience would receive her words with open arms and not think about artificiality. While they were eating, he offered her to try his dish, and then remembered that she doesn't like spicy food, and Elisa thought that if she refused, he would think that she was not a fan of spicy food, and she forced herself to eat one piece, and she couldn't stand the heat. After that, she kept holding her mouth all the way through the pain, and then it occurred to her to ask which candidate Yuki would choose to be her deputy, and then he remembered when he saw Sayaka wandering around and felt that they would be in trouble if his sister decided to include her. When Elisa asks him about that girl, he tells her that she's the one who defeated his sister in the debate in the middle school election, even though they won the position in the same round, and then decides not to think about it too much since they'll know who Yuki's partner will be soon. The next day, Masachika is surprised when his sister hires a girl named Ayano to team up with him in managing the general student council affairs, which makes him feel that she set him up for a trap by choosing that girl. Over the course of the day, Masachika was walking down the hallway when he heard someone calling his name, and when he turned around, he was startled to find Ayano standing behind him after she appeared out of nowhere and felt like a ninja, then asked him to talk privately for a while. She then told him that his grandfather Jensei had expressed his displeasure at him running against his sister in the election, especially after he had given up the family name earlier, and he remembered his last meeting with him when he told him that they would be strangers when he left the family home and would not recognize him as Yuki's brother. Feeling irritated by his strange behavior, he asked her if he had sent her to investigate, and she told him that her job was to assess and check every threat to Yuki as her personal assistant, and that she believed he would not cause his sister grief under any circumstances. He told her that he didn't intend to run to oppose Yuki, but that he would have to compete with her in order to achieve his goal. She was curious to ask if running alongside Elisa was so important that he wouldn't mind betraying and hurting his sister. He replied that he had promised Elisa that he would do everything he could to help her become president, and that he had decided to do so as soon as he felt like it, without considering any other issues, and asked her to tell his grandfather not to bother Yuki about it, and that if he had any objections, to come and say them to his face. Ayana wanted to ask him before she left if his love for Yuki wouldn't change because of it. He replied that his sister is the most important person in the world to him and asked her to stay by her side as much as possible. During the break, he joined his friends for lunch and found Takeshi enamored with this summer's magazine, whose cover featured many girls in bikinis. When Masachika is asked to pick the best one, he's not interested at first, but then he chooses a random girl, and Hikaru realizes that he's picked a girl who looks a lot like Elisa, so he tells them that he doesn't look at her that way because she has a boyfriend. Elisa appeared out of nowhere behind him and cursed him in Russian when she saw him holding the magazine in his hands. He told her that the magazine belonged to Takeshi. She told him that he should have reprimanded him as a student council member, and then left and sat there angrily looking out the window. Then it occurred to Takeshi to ask him if he wanted to date Yuki, and Masachika expressed his desire to have a girlfriend who could become a close friend, and then he heard Elisa say in Russian that she had the same qualities, which made him blush in front of them, and then he remembered his childhood friend. When his friends started talking about people with cold, angry looks, he warned them that they were hurting Elisa if she heard them, while Elisa was covered in snow, pretending to be indifferent, and said in Russian that she didn't care because she already had friends. Masachika asks them to indirectly cheer her up, but she quickly approaches them and tells them that she realizes that she is a good-looking girl who lacks charisma, then decides to take the magazine from them and leaves quietly. Meanwhile, Ayano was with Yuki and asked her what he told her. Ayano said that he refused to retract his decision, and Yuki realized that he was serious about the election, especially since he is not afraid of their grandfather Jensei. She suddenly became suspicious of Ayano's behavior and thought to ask her if she had fallen in love with him at first sight. right. Ayana replied that she had no romantic feelings for him, but she respected him and wanted to serve him and vowed to do her best to become a perfect servant for them. Then she told her that Masachika still sees her as the most important person in the world, which made her rush to the window as if she was going to jump, but she controlled herself after she almost shouted her love for him around the school and felt that things were starting to get exciting as the election approached. Then she became excited to find out Masachika's plan to beat her, as he is the genius and the greatest of their family, and she could not beat him in anything before. Afterward, the girls play a game of cards together in the council office after a special welcome party for Ayano and Masachika, and Yuki manages to beat Elisa and get a large amount of candy, while the rest of them watch the game closely. They found that Elisa looked completely exposed and could read her thoughts through her facial expressions, which is why she kept losing, while Maria was unpredictable. They are interrupted by Ayana's sudden appearance as usual to pour them more drinks, and Tuya notices that she has good manners, and Masachika tells her that she learned it from her grandfather and grandmother who served the Yuki family, and when he asks her about her parents, she tells them that her parents are office workers, but she preferred to work as a maid because she admired her grandfather and grandmother. As she was talking about her story, she almost slipped up about her relationship with Masachika, so she approached him and apologized to him in a whisper, and he noticed that her eyes contained a look of love and respect for him and wondered that she was not angry with him. Tuya worries that Yuki and Elisa will end up fighting, but Masachika tells him that she's having a great time, even though it doesn't look like she's having fun. When they ran out of drinks, Masachika went to get more with Maria. On their way, she thanked him for his decision to run for president with Elisa and expressed her confidence that her sister would be happy with his decision. When he said it wasn't something to thank him for, she told him that Elisa had no one to rely on, but that things would work out fine thanks to him. Masachika was curious if she was deliberately hiding her sense of responsibility for her sister, and she told him that she didn't want to compete with her because she's a hard worker and does everything well. Masachika realizes that she is the opposite of Elisa, the indifferent older sister, and tells him that she thinks that living life to the fullest would be exhausting and that everyone should take a break. Then she added that she doesn't want Elisa to be isolated from everyone and considers them to be the closest sisters in the world, which is why they are always competing. He remembered how he felt about his sister and that the only thing that doesn't make him feel inferior to her is her constant expressions of love and admiration for him without remorse. He wondered if Yuki was deliberately playing the crazy otaku to act like a stupid little sister. Then Maria asked him to keep what they talked about a secret, and he realized that she wanted to keep the responsible, mature sister a secret. When Maria questioned him, he told her that he had no good reason to appear responsible and that he was playing the slacker so that no one would think to rely on him. Then he was surprised by her patting him on the head and giving him some compliments and marveled at her sudden invasion of his privacy. Elisa then runs into the mysterious Sayaka, and when she introduces herself, she remembers that she was Yuki's rival in middle school, and when she asks her if it's true that she's running for election with Masachika and she doesn't deny it, Sayaka gets upset and calls it improper behavior for stealing the candidate that Yuki was trying to get. She then hurled false accusations at her in front of everyone and said that she deliberately took Masachika on her side to anger Yuki, at which point Masachika rushed towards them and defended Elisa in front of everyone that he made the decision to run with her on his own. Sayaka doesn't believe it because of his indifference until recently and asks him what made him suddenly change his mind. He refuses to go into details and only tells her that his sister accepted his decision with open arms and asks her to apologize to Elisa. Sayaka ignored his request and approached him and announced her challenge to him in front of everyone at the student candidate conference. Elisa told her that she would be part of this conference, but Sayaka called her a puppet whose only job is to score good grades and warned her not to interfere. But Elisa told her that they are candidates as a team and she will have to face them together, and Sayaka agreed to take them down all at once. Masachika and Elisa then head to the student council, and when Tuya tells them that the topic of the conference will be teacher recommendations for joining the council, Masachika is discouraged because he doesn't have a good reputation among the teachers. Tuya advised them to back out of the conference because he felt that it would not benefit them, but Elisa told him that he would give them an advantage if they beat Sayaka, and she also wanted to rehabilitate her for humiliating them in front of everyone. So Tuya had to respect their wishes and announce the conference at the end of the day. In the evening, Masachika and Elisa sit down to prepare for Sayaka's debate by guessing what she will use against them and preparing appropriate responses to each statement. As they prepare, Elisa asks Masachika why he doesn't get along with Sayaka, and he tells her that he felt some sort of mutual respect when they worked together and doesn't know why she taunted them earlier. Elisa wondered why she had a bad impression of him in the first place. He told her that when he was Yuki's partner, he decided to abandon her even though she was the leading candidate and went to work with someone else, which made her doubt his motivation. Elisa feels guilty that it's all her fault that he decided to team up with her, but they vowed to make sure they win tomorrow. The next day, they meet Sayaka's debate partner outside the auditorium, a blonde girl named Nono, and Masachika marvels that she's taking it like she's going for a walk. Masachika tells her that Sayaka and Nono are close friends despite despite their differences, and Nano is known for her influence and connections, making her a powerful weapon in the election. Elisa was then asked to focus on Sayaka only. As they entered the auditorium, Elisa felt stage fright and worried that she would be ignored, as she had been when the two teams' dispute was resolved. However, she quickly gathered her courage and decided to fight the debate for Masachika, who had agreed to be her partner and not to let him down, while the audience was skeptical of her ability to give a speech and confident that Sayaka would win. Masachika then joined her and surprised her by asking her about her breast size on stage to take advantage of the fact that she couldn't beat him in front of everyone, but she was embarrassed and refused to answer his question, so he told her that he was trying to help her calm her nerves and that she should face her real opponent, the perfect version of herself. At the beginning of the conference, Tuya gave the initiative to the proposers to make their argument, and Sayaka took the stage and began to address the audience, stating her objection to the system of selecting student council members by the president and vice president only, as they accept any applicant. She then argued that the student council should be made up of a group of the school's elite students and use the school's social hierarchy to convince everyone of her point of view. Masachika felt that she was a master of persuasion because she succeeded in attracting everyone's attention to what she was saying. Then she suggested that there should be a prerequisite for a student to be accepted into the council with the unanimous approval of the teachers to make the council more credible for all students. After she finished her speech, it was Elisa's turn to respond and oppose the proposal, while everyone was already certain that Sayaka would win, and when she took the stage, she remembered Masachika's advice to her and had the courage to give her speech in front of everyone. She then voiced her objection to Sayaka's proposal that the teachers' recommendations would violate the authority of the student council and would involve stripping the president and vice president of their authority within the council to nominate any member to join, which she saw as accusing the student council of not being able to fulfill its functions properly. Masachika admired her emotional stability and balance in front of the audience and found that she succeeded in convincing some of them of her point of view and creating a division among the students. When she finished her speech, Sayaka insisted on her suggestion that teacher recommendations would prevent a decline in performance within the council, while Elisa insisted on her opinion that the president and vice president should have the power to select and discuss joining candidates with the teachers. Masachika felt triumphant that he was able to take down Sayaka by focusing all her attention on him and neglecting her real opponent, the formidable Elisa. Elisa was surprised when some fans taunted her as a newcomer who didn't know much about the school. Masachika realized that Sayaka and Nano had deliberately placed people in the audience to influence Elisa, and Elisa forgot what she was about to say due to her distraction. But soon, Masachika appeared and decided to save her from the situation and told her that he would take care of the rest. He then began his speech to everyone and used their election of Tuya as an argument to prove the validity of their objection, since they elected him even though they knew he was lazy, had no influence in his class, and would not have been approved by the teachers in his previous state. When Tuya asked if Sayaka's team had any objections to their proposal, they were surprised when Sayaka rushed out, followed by Elisa. On the other hand, Sayaka remembered the first time she saw Masachika and Yuki together, and she thought she had met the perfect couple, as they had a bond stronger than any other bond, and she felt that she had no chance against them, yet she didn't complain about it. But when she saw Masachika with Elisa, she felt betrayed for some reason, and as she was running around, she was caught by Elisa, who was surprised to see her crying and expressed her displeasure that Masachika had chosen her to be his partner and couldn't accept losing her to them. Elisa let her say whatever she wanted to vent her anger, but Sayaka felt that she was a fool for taking it out on her just to see her with Masachika, and that everything she was angry about was in her own head. Nanawa joined them and apologized for the commotion and asked them to let her take care of the rest. Before leaving, Elisa said that she didn't know why Masachika chose her, but she would do her best to make sure he made the right choice. Meanwhile, Yuki was in the booth watching everyone leave the auditorium and felt that her brother had a good heart, since he could have ended the debate at any time, but he didn't, and she guessed that he wouldn't be a match for her if that was all he had. Ayano complimented Masachika and Elisa's performance in the debate and told her that they should be confident and not judge their opponent's skills arrogantly to give off the aura of a leader. In the evening, Elisa sat with Masachika and told him what Sayaka had said about him and his sister, and promised him that she would do her best to prove to him that he made the right choice by running with her. When she asked him why he chose her instead of Yuki, he told her that he had run with Yuki before because he couldn't bring himself to reject her and didn't want to feel guilty. Then he remembered when his parents split up and decided to take his father's side and left with him, leaving Yuki behind, and added that everything he'd done his whole life for others was motivated by guilt, which made him feel like a pathetic person. He then told her that everyone used to call him the big shot who controlled things behind the scenes, but the truth is that he never wanted to be in the spotlight. But this time he decided on his own to run for vice president, and he wanted to be her partner and not put her on a pedestal compared to his sister. Elisa felt happy and flattered by his words, and when he asked her if she agreed to run with him, she told him in Russian that she accepted it because she would be his partner. Then she decided to leave the hall, and Masachika followed her immediately, and then he was surprised when she asked him what he meant meant by asking him about her breast size before the start of the conference. He was confused and told her that there was a girl who claimed that her breasts were smaller than they looked, and she told him that he was close to guessing the correct size before she left and closed the door in his face. A few days later, Yuki is having dinner at her grandfather's house, and they talk about the conference that was held a few days ago. He tells her that she is not allowed to lose no matter who she faces, and even though she doesn't have the talent of Masachika, she has the responsibility while he decides to abandon her. Then he warned her that losing to Masachika in particular was unacceptable. As Yuki went up to her room, her mother asked her if she and Masachika were still close and was relieved when she told her that their relationship was fine. The next day, Masachika was receiving praise from his classmates for his performance at the conference and his ability to defeat Sayaka while completely ignoring Elisa. And when he noticed this, he told her that the students wanted to hear more about her accomplishments last week at the conference. When he found his classmates still standing in front of him, he enlisted the help of Hikaru to reinforce Elisa's position and began to praise her speech at the conference, especially since she wrote it. And as time went on, students began to gather around her and ask questions. But when she heard someone making fun of Sayaka's reaction to losing the debate, she was furious and asked to speak with Masachika privately. And when he realized that she was upset about making fun of Sayaka, he told her that only they knew why she reacted the way she did and that they had done nothing wrong. She expresses her desire to help Sayaka, but they won't be able to because their victory at the conference won't be in vain. She is surprised that Masachika isn't opposed to helping her. As they talk, Masachika feels a disturbance in the air that tells him they're not alone in the room. On the other side, Tuya and Shizaki were hiding behind the table and trying not to fall so as not to be detected, but Masachika decided to pretend not to see anything as it is normal for him, as he often reads such situations in manga and anime. Then he was surprised when Elisa approached him and saw her looking at him closely. He began to feel confused and thought about trying to distract her elsewhere. So he decided to expose Tuya and Shizaki to get out of this predicament, and then they climbed from the bottom of the room in embarrassment. Then everyone agreed to pretend not to see or hear anything. After they left, Elisa left quickly, blushing, and on his way to class, he saw Nono sitting in her classroom with her classmates, chatting. He told her that he wanted to talk to her privately. She thought he wanted to date her, but he denied it. She said she was single and didn't mind, so he told her that she should date someone who loves her. She nonchalantly told him that she doesn't understand about love and romance and has never dated anyone she loves. He advised her not to underestimate herself and then got to the point and told her that he wanted to put an end to people making fun of Sayaka. Nono wonders if he's bothered by it. He tells her that it bothers his election partner. She asks him why he's going to her for something like this when she's his enemy and tells him that she's sure he noticed that she planted her own people in the audience at the convention. He said he couldn't believe she would risk her friendships for such a thing. She told him that she doesn't have any friends except Sayaka and doesn't care if she loses them. He was curious as to why she was so attached to a mysterious person like Sayaka. She tells him that it's because her mystery fascinates her and she's always on fire with enthusiasm, something Nono and Masachika lack, and tells him that their situation is similar. A bunch of miserable people clinging to people who radiate positive energy. He suggests that they create a rumor that logically explains why Sayaka left that day. She warns him that their victory at the conference will be at stake if everyone believes this rumor and that it is her duty to clean up what Sayaka left behind as her partner, and she leaves after agreeing to help him with his plan. After she left, he asked Yuki and Nayana to come out from under the table, as he already knew they were there. When he asked them why they were spying on him, Yuki told him that she noticed him approaching the enemy suspiciously and wanted to check it out. Then he was surprised by the arrival of Elisa, who, upon seeing the three of them in an empty classroom, felt angry but tried to pretend otherwise and left quietly while expressing her indignation in Russian. And on the other side, she remembered Nono on her way to class when Sayaka saw her kissing a young man in an empty place. She then expressed her displeasure and told her not to underestimate herself and that she should give herself more credit for dating different guys in short periods of time and letting them touch and kiss her like a slut. When she remembered this, she smiled and thought she was overreacting. She then returned to class and told her classmates that Masachika was asking her why Sayaka was absent from school today and concocted a rumor that Sayaka left the conference that day because she was angry with her and used her planting people in the audience as an excuse to bolster her lie. Meanwhile, Masachika returns to class to explain to Elisa that his sister and her maid accidentally stumbled into the classroom and deliberately spied on him, and she nonchalantly tells him that she's not bothered by his closeness to his childhood friends. He decided to change the subject and asked her if she wanted to study with him after class, but she couldn't believe that a loser like him decided to try harder to study. But at the end of the day, they sat studying together in the library. Yuki and Ayano break into the library, causing Masachika to panic, and Yuki decides to join them, and despite Elisa's disapproval, she pretends otherwise, and the four of them end up studying together. Elisa notices that Masachika is reading the solutions to math problems, telling her that it's a waste of time to bother with problems he doesn't understand, and Yuki tells her that's how he always studies. Elisa wondered if the three of them were were just childhood friends after noticing how close they were, but she was interrupted by Maria joining them, and after a while they sat and drank tea together while Maria found a suspicious book discussing hypnosis. Then she felt excited and asked Elisa to help her experiment with hypnosis, but she refused after insisting, so she decided to turn to Masachika to help her experiment, so he applied what was mentioned in the book in order to be able to hypnotize her. After he succeeded, he applied the steps in the book to wake her up again, and once she regained consciousness after he touched her shoulder, he was surprised that she had no memory of what happened after she was hypnotized, while Elisa thought it was just a joke, so Yuki suggested that she try to see if it was true. Masachika then hypnotizes Elisa and Maria together, and Yuki is surprised that he hypnotized her again, but she quickly decides to use the opportunity to her advantage and let them reveal their deepest secrets while they sleep. When she told them to let loose, she was surprised when they approached Masachika together, and he ended up sitting next to Maria, who patted him and Elisa on the head like a mother and child. Then he was shocked to see Elisa suddenly get up and take off her clothes in front of them, followed by Maria at Yuki's request, but he decided to stop this farce and touch their shoulders to regain consciousness, but the shock did not work this time, and they continued to take off their clothes. Then they were surprised when Shisaki entered the room and saw the suspicious thing, and Yuki told her in confusion that they had tried the steps of the hypnosis book, so she approached them and hit them at the same time until they fell to the ground, and after a while they regained consciousness and did not remember anything and were soon shocked when they found themselves half naked. At night, Masachika sat at home reviewing some lessons and found it difficult to stay focused. Then he remembered that it was time to watch his favorite anime, but he prevented himself from watching because he knew that he would not return to study after he finished watching, and the exams will start tomorrow and there is no way to postpone the lessons. After 10 minutes, he became distracted again, which made him feel annoyed as he forgot how to work hard like he used to in the past, but he decided to hold out longer so that his reputation in the study would not affect Elisa's standing in the election. Then he was surprised when he received a phone call from her. When he answered, she told him that she didn't call for a specific reason. He thought she might be missing him, but she said she remembered that he lacked passion when he was alone and asked him if he was studying like he was supposed to, and he told her that he wasn't motivated at all and asked for her advice on how to study at times like this. She suggested that they make a bet and told him that she would be willing to fulfill one request for him if he succeeded in his goal of being in the top 30 students this year, and he would fulfill any request for her if he failed to do so, and he vowed that he would make her regret proposing the bet. When she responded to his enthusiasm coldly, he told her that she was making her older brother angry, which made her wonder since they are almost the same age. Then she was surprised that he remembered her birthday and told her that his birthday is April 9, several months before her. After they ended the call, Elisa wondered that she realized that he had lost concentration while they were at a distance from each other, when in fact Elisa decided to call him because she felt scared of watching a horror movie in the middle of the night, and then she felt annoyed that he didn't tell her his birthday beforehand so that they could celebrate it together. After 5 days, the exam period finally ended, and after class, Masachika suggested that they walk home together, explaining that he wanted to discuss what they would do at the closing ceremony. As they walked, he noticed that Elisa hadn't been flirting with him in Russian since that sudden phone call. He decides to ask her directly why she's been acting strangely since the exam started, and she's surprised that he noticed her change and cares about her so much. So she decides to tell him that she's upset that he didn't tell her about his birthday in advance. He told her that he didn't celebrate his birthday at all, but she didn't believe him. He said that he hadn't celebrated his birthday since he was in elementary school and realized that it is common in Russia to celebrate one's birthday every year. When he noticed that she wanted to celebrate his birthday, she was confused and told him that not celebrating a birthday in Russia sends a clear message that he was tired of pretending to be nice to that person. He suggested that they celebrate his birthday together even though it was 3 months ago, and decided to have a belated birthday party, which made her feel happy in her heart. The next day, he was surprised to see her wearing an elegant dress, and as they walked around together, Masachika felt very hot and relieved that they weren't wearing school uniforms, then marveled when he noticed that people were staring at them in amazement as if they were beings from another world. Elisa told him that this is the price she pays every day for being beautiful, and when he asked her how she deals with people flirting with her when she is alone, she told him that she deliberately speaks Russian so that they will stay away from her. He felt relieved that she wasn't using any kind of violence and told her he was glad she wasn't letting any of these idiots make her fall in love with him. She asked him meanly if he was deliberately acting like he was her boyfriend, and was surprised when he replied that he tends to act like that when he's on a date. She told him in Russian that this was her first time going on a date with a guy, but he didn't believe it and thought she meant it was her first time going on a date with him. Masachika thought it would be a good choice for lunch since it's notoriously expensive at dinner time, but he was shocked when she told him that she knew the restaurant and used to eat there with her family. He then proceeds to explain to her how to perform the closing ceremonies as a candidate, telling her that in the end, the outcome is decided by the public's reaction to the candidates, and that he doubts they will get as much interaction as Yuki. He then added that they would aim to minimize the gap between them as much as possible without trying to overcome it, and that they would have to have strong arguments in order to get good reactions. He then thought about using mental manipulation strategies with Yuki and Ayano and expected Yuki to plant some people like Nanoa did, but Elisa said that manipulative tactics were not for her. While they were discussing the plan, the waiter brought their food and they sat down to enjoy their time celebrating Masachika's birthday. She was curious to ask him if he was behind the rumor that Nano had created to improve Sayaka's image, but he didn't know that she would admit to planting people in the audience to convince them of her lie. Elisa felt grateful to him and thanked him for doing all this for her, which made him blush. Then he was surprised that she was no longer hiding her feelings in Russian as usual, and even more puzzled that she wanted to feed him from her plate in front of everyone. He realized that she was deliberately acting impulsively and boldly when she noticed his confusion. After he took his bite, he found that she was eating with the same fork and realized that she was looking for an indirect kiss. Masachika was grateful, then noticed that the design of the cup suggested that he had a second husband. He was surprised when she told him that she used her own similar cup at home and realized that she had gotten to him. The next day, the student council met to discuss the summer uniform proposal. Tuya told them that they could introduce the new uniforms after the summer break and asked them to keep it a secret until it was announced at the closing ceremonies. Maria then made tea for them, and Masachika noticed that she was still upset about the hypnosis. When he went to help her clean the cups, he explicitly apologized for it, but she wasn't upset since she was the one who asked for it in the first place. She was curious to ask him what she did after she fell asleep, and he told her that she kept patting his and Elisa's heads, which made her feel awkward. Then it occurred to her to ask him if he had seen her half naked, and he didn't know what to say. She pulled him by the cheeks as punishment and told him that he shouldn't embarrass a girl like that. Then she decided to join the others before the parent meeting started. After he finished cleaning up, he went to the office and found that he and Yuki were alone after everyone else had left. He thought about going to bring his grandparents to the parent-teacher conference, but she clung to him before he left the room and told him to stop ignoring her, as they hadn't had any brotherly time alone in a long time. She quickly made her way to the table, acting like a stray cat and asking him to pamper her. They were interrupted by his grandfather's call, and when he came out, he found him waiting for him at the school entrance and was surprised to see him wearing clothes that only narcissists and Peaky Blinders would own. Grandpa Tomohisa puts on his sunglasses to add insult to injury and tells him that he spent his entire pension to buy these suspicious outfits, and when he asks about his father, Masachika tells him that he can't come because he's busy at work. Masachika suddenly felt in trouble when his grandfather saw Lisa after she left the teacher's office with her mother, as he is obsessed with Russian culture and history, while she was surprised that he has such a cute grandfather. Then her mother Akimi came out and introduced herself, and Elisa was embarrassed when she told them that she was always talking about Masachika at home. Then Tomohisa approached her and offered her to join his family by marrying Masachika, which made them wish the earth would split open and swallow them. After the meeting, Masachika and his grandfather were on their way to leave, and he was surprised when he ran into his mother on the way and was not happy to see her. Masachika remembered his painful past with his mother Yumi, as when he was young, he tried to impress her and make her happy in various ways, but she did not give him the reaction he expected from him and always met his efforts with coldness. But he did not give up trying to impress her. He decided to excel in his studies and learn to play the piano for her until one day she yelled at him to stop playing, and then he woke up and realized that he had a cold, and after some time he found Elisa had come to visit him after learning about his illness from Yuki. He felt angry at his sister for bringing her into the matter and asked her to give him the medicine bag without bothering him. She said that Yuki asked her to take care of him and that she couldn't leave without his help, but he realized she was lying after he heard her babbling in Russian. Elisa was impressed as soon as she entered his room, as it was the first time she entered a young man's room, and decided to prepare food for him and use the internet to find the right recipe while Masachika remained bedridden and unable to move. After that, she served him the food, and he admired the way she looked in her apron. Then she was curious to ask him about his parents, and he told her that his father was at work and had no mother, and after he finished eating and took his medicine, he told her that he needed to sleep and that she could leave whenever she wanted. She decided to spend the time studying in the living room. In the evening, Masachika woke up and found that he had fallen asleep for a long time and thought that Elisa had already left, but he was surprised when he went to the living room and found Elisa and Ayano staring at each other with challenging looks. Ayano rushed towards him to make him lean on her as he walked, which made Elisa jealous and asked her to stay away from him, but she refused under the pretext that this was one of her duties as a maid and asked her to go home to get ready for tomorrow, and he had no idea what Ayano meant. After she left, Masachika sat down to eat the dinner she had prepared for him beforehand and then went to sleep. Ayano suggested that she wipe his body if he was unable to take a bath, but he rejected the idea, so she decided to sleep next to him, but he insisted on refusing, and when he found her still sitting staring at him, he ordered her to return to Yuki and be satisfied with that much. The next day, Masachika woke up and found Ayano sweeping the living room, and he overslept again. But what confused him was Ayano's decision to skip school for him, and while he was eating lunch, he felt that something was wrong with him. Then Then he thought to check his medicine box and found that it contained a substance that made him drowsy and realized that Yuki had deliberately delivered this medicine to him through Elisa. So he decided to go to school despite the end of the school day, and Ayano decided to tell him the truth. After that, Masachika rushed to school after it became clear that Yuki deliberately did this to prevent him from attending the closing ceremony and losing the election to her. And when he went to class, he found Elisa sitting sadly, and when she saw him, she apologized and said that she had ruined the whole thing. She then told him what happened yesterday morning after she talked to Yuki and asked her to go check on him instead, giving her the medicine he's supposed to take when he gets colds and asking her to come as a guest on today's public address broadcast. Realizing that they have no intention of capitalizing on their victory over Sayaka, Yuki manages to provoke her into admitting that the purpose of attending today's conference is to take advantage of Masachika's illness and absence in order to get her alone, as she is an easy target. During the broadcast, she was surprised by Yuki's sudden apology after feeling remorse for plotting against her and told her why she wanted to become the head of the council, since she had an older brother who was smarter than her and her family had hopes for him, but he suddenly disappeared and she became motivated to live up to her family's hopes and aspirations on his behalf. Yuki succeeded in the psychological battle against Elisa and was able to force her to lose her concentration seconds before the broadcast began, making her unaware of what was happening around her and ruining the whole thing. Masachika realized that his sister had planned it since the beginning of his illness and was able to get Elisa easily. He told her to stop and said that Yuki was not aiming to take the lead using the morning broadcast, but to manipulate her psychologically and mentally in preparation for the closing ceremonies. She was surprised to see him smiling with goosebumps and expressed her admiration for him in Russian. Afterwards, she told him that she couldn't answer him when he asked her why she wanted to be president because Yuki had stronger motives than her and made her feel ashamed of herself. He told her that it doesn't matter if Yuki's motives are bigger than hers. The most important thing is that she works hard and has the drive to become president, and asked her to keep her head up no matter what. Elisa gathered her courage and regained her self-confidence thanks to him and told him that he seemed to be declaring his love for her, which made him feel embarrassed, then thanked him for his moral support and decided not to compare herself to her as she continues the struggle of her late brother. Masachika felt angry that Yuki made her think he was dead. Sayaka and Nano joined them, and Sayaka apologized for her actions and terrible behavior that day, while Nano apologized that she couldn't stop her from insulting them earlier, and Elisa accepted their apologies. And when Sayaka thought that she didn't deliberately mention the conference in Yuki's broadcast to protect her reputation, she told her that she didn't want to declare herself victorious when she hadn't even beaten her. Sayaka realizes that she is as proud as she is and acknowledges the fact that her reputation was in the toilet after that day. Masachika warns her that if she plans to talk about it at the ceremony, he won't be able to let her do whatever she wants as a member of the student council, and suggests that she find another way to respond to Elisa's goodwill. She asks him if he has any suggestions for her, and he tells her that he wants to support her and Nano at the closing ceremony. Sayaka agrees to support him even though she still wants him to return to Team Yuki, and his confidence in his ability to defeat his sister rises with the support of both girls. Afterward, Elisa practiced her speech in front of Masachika, who told her that if she could rely on her emotional stability, they would be guaranteed to win, but she was worried that the number of attendees at the closing ceremony would outnumber the previous convention. Masachika asks her to focus on getting her message across, and she asks him how she can interact with the audience like he did at the conference. He tells her that he himself doesn't know the answer to that question, but it's mostly based on experience from his point of view. After he told her the trick, Yuki and Ayano joined them, and she was surprised to see him staring at her angrily. He told her not to play dumb and that her mask was gradually crumbling. Yuki realizes that she's been found out and there's no need to pretend to be innocent. Elisa tells her that what she did gave her a chance to reevaluate herself and decides to give her the answer to her question tomorrow. Yuki admires her confidence and asks them slyly if they're still angry with her. Masachika told her that she acted naturally in taking advantage of her opponent's weaknesses, describing it as if he felt like patting his pet dog on the head for daring to bite him and teach him a lesson at the same time. Their conversation was interrupted when the rest of the council joined them to review tomorrow's plans for the closing ceremony, and when Tuya asked them what method they wanted to use to determine who would speak first, they agreed to toss a coin between them. Maria helps them flip the coin, and Yuki ponders whether it's better to go first and assert control or wait to see the reaction to Elisa's speech, and wonders why Masachika tried to intimidate her earlier. After Elisa misjudged the drawing, Yuki was left with the choice of whether to go first or give the initiative to her opponent. She thought long and hard and realized that her brother had just deliberately distracted her from her main target, Elisa, being emotionally vulnerable. After realizing a large part of Masachika's plan, she decided to choose the initiative to give the speech first. The next day, the closing ceremony began with a large number of students in attendance, and after each of the council members gave their speeches, the host announced the start of the student council election debate. Yuki and Ayano entered first and vowed to settle the matter in the first round. She began her speech to the audience and shared her vision for the student council presidency, saying that she intends to create a suggestion box that will take students' opinions and decisions seriously and make them play a key role in the development of the school. She then expressed her dissatisfaction that students were not using the suggestion box to voice their opinions because they were lazy about it and thought it was a waste of time, and vowed that she would devote her time to fulfill their requests and listen to their suggestions and focus on the recreational and sports aspect of the school. After she finished her speech, Masachika realized that it was a motivational speech without any real content, but she still managed to get a good response from the audience while Elisa was very confused. Ayano then appeared to give her speech and explain her reasons for choosing to support Yuki and run with her as a deputy, and began to praise her character and qualities, while Masachika thought that they deliberately took the initiative to give speeches to block their way. After they finished their speeches, it was Elisa's turn, and while everyone was indifferent to what she had to say, thinking that Yuki had succeeded in settling the matter, they were surprised when she delivered her speech in Russian without being able to understand a single word, forcing them to pay attention to her involuntarily. Then she found the audience laughing and making fun of her speaking in Russian and not understanding a word of it. She realized that Masachika's plan was working well, as he asked her to start speaking in Russian to dampen the audience's reaction to Yuki. She then began speaking in Japanese, introducing herself and telling them that she intends to run for student council president even though she moved to the school last year and has no track record of previous accomplishments, and admitting that she still has a lot to learn about how the entire council works. She then confidently said that what sets her apart is that she is someone who can work harder than anyone else and always strives to achieve the perfect result in everything she does, even if it is simple, which is why she believes that they should not be satisfied with the achievements of the council so far. She then remembered Masachika's words and encouragement since she met him and pledged to everyone that she would work to improve herself and contribute to the fulfillment of her duties as council president, and that if she was not worthy of the position, she would withdraw from next year's elections. After she finished her speech, she was surprised by a large number of audience members who gave her a standing ovation. Then Masachika praised her performance, and she felt relieved that she had overcome the biggest obstacle in her way, and when it was his turn, he walked to the center of the stage. Then he began his speech with a joke that only Tsukeshi could understand. Masachika then told them that he was Yuki's deputy in junior high school and that he was the one in charge back then. He answered the question of why he didn't run with her again by saying that it wasn't a betrayal, but that he thought the best person to be student council president was someone who had the charisma to rally people around, and that he wanted to support Elisa because she was open and honest with herself. He then told them that Nano and Sayaka would join her as members of the council if she won the election, and to everyone's surprise, they appeared on stage next to him and ended his speech by asking for everyone's support in establishing a completely new student council and making it a reality. Masachika and his team bowed to the crowd and whispered to Elisa that the credit for their success goes to her. After they returned backstage, Sayaka told them that they were now tied and she had no intention of contributing to her campaign any longer. Yuki, on the other hand, realized that she had lost the election and blamed herself for making the wrong decision in trying to win by planning alone, and decided to admit defeat. After the ceremony, the exam results came out and Masachika went to check his ranking among the students. He was soon disappointed to find himself in 33rd place, close to his goal, but he didn't complain too much. Elisa, the first place finisher, told him she was tired and wanted to go home. She told him that she would think about what she wanted to ask him. When she spoke Russian, he realized that she wasn't counting on winning the bet. He tried to remember what she wanted at the time, and when he remembered, he asked her to call him by his first name from now on to show everyone that they were a close-knit team. When she called him by his first name, he almost fainted because of how cute she was. When they got out of school, he told her that they had to make time to prepare for the election despite the summer vacation, and offered to meet during the vacation period. She approached him while he tried to avoid looking at her to ease his embarrassment, but when she asked him to look in front of him, he found her smiling at him to express her approval of his suggestion.